Welcome to the hottest real estate topics on the planet, keeping you up to date with all the creative ways to buy and sell real estate without bank qualifying, so anyone can build real income starting today. Here is another great show with Dealmaker Bill and Pete the Rookie.
All right, here we are at another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies. Hey, Peter.
Yeah, good morning, Bill.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you making out?
Yeah, I'm okay. You got a little disclosure for this morning's show? Huh?
I got the trees getting cut finally.
So if there's noises, he's always worried about the noises. I told him it makes you real, Peter. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, as long as it isn't like annoying. Yeah, I have some pine trees. A few years ago, pine trees on one side of my house fell on kind of the neighbors on the other side. So this year, the other neighbors worrying about some pine trees, but they're actually okay. But we're taking them down anyways, and some other stuff, some trees on the roof that aren't good for the roof. So it'll be neater, brighter.
If a tree comes crashing down, I should call 911.
It's the other side of the house. I'll be okay.
Okay.
Call from my wife. She's on the other side.
All right. Episode number 207. 207.
Oh!
The name of today's podcast is Do Not Listen to This Podcast Unless You Are Frustrated as Hell with Not Doing Real Estate Deals.
Okay.
I have not done a real estate deal is more like it.
That's probably a lot of us right now.
Yeah. Why are you struggling with getting your real estate dream off the ground? If you are like the hundreds of folks looking to turn real estate into income I've talked to over the years, you've been led to believe that in order to be successful in real estate, you need to know the different types of deals, all the ins and outs, maybe some real estate laws so you don't get in trouble, leaving you to spend usually thousands to educate yourself, buy software, open entities, and what about the marketing expense? And if you don't have these thousands, you're left to buying and reading books or watching videos, most of which leaves out the key details, so you will spend more money buying another book or a more expensive system.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're tired of fluff and want to know how to start making deals and learn what no guru will ever tell you without thousands of dollars, this podcast is for you. Give Peter and I 90 minutes, and we'll be willing to follow this. Give Peter and I 90 minutes and be willing to follow this proven system blindly. Complete every step faithfully, and I'll have you finding and putting together deals in just a few hours. I know that sounds outrageous, but once you see how easy it is, you'll kick yourself over how much time and money you have wasted. Just listen carefully, take some notes, and have confidence in us until you do your first deal.
There we go.
How was that, Peter?
He put a stake in the ground, folks.
Bold enough or what?
Sure. Why not?
It started with, I'll get onto it. It started with an email the other day, and it's been going on for days.
Yeah, I saw some of that.
The email was, I'm tired of hearing this. It pisses me off.
Yeah, I saw that one.
I want to be honest. What prompted this podcast was doing one of my one-on-one coaching interviews, which if somebody wants to do one of those coaching, so what I do is I do 45-minute coaching interviews.
Yeah.
They're not even coaching interviews. They're like, I offer a service where if you want to talk about your real estate career, I'll talk to you for 45 minutes and just make sure you're on the right path.
Yep.
Okay? You can find that at flippinghousesforrookies.com/free consult. Okay, flippinghousesforrookies.com/free consult. And I hear these stories of, because I talk to people one-on-one every week. I like multiple people I'll talk to one-on-one every week. And these stories of trying to get their first deal, or how much money they've spent.
Oh yeah.
Or
that's horrible. That's heartbreaking.
Yeah. And it's crazy, some of the things. I mean, I heard a story the other day, which I don't want to repeat because it was just disgusting. But it was a complete racist story. And it's so apropos for what's going on now. The guy just happened to tell me the story. It had nothing to do with what's going on in the world. It's just what happened.
Yeah.
And it was just gross. I mean, I didn't know what to do. And you know me, I'm always like, I just didn't know what to do.
You got 3 answers for everything.
Yeah, usually. So, so here's the point that I want to make: that getting started and spending all this money and trying to get your first deal, it even happened to me. Okay, I want to hang on one second, Peter. I want to close this. There you go. I got something flashing on my screen, and it keeps getting my attention, so I want to get rid of it. Somebody trying to message me on Facebook, just what I need right now, right? So this even happened to me, right? I spent thousands and God knows how many hours to do my first deal. Well, it was about 2 years before I did my first deal.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many hours, I don't know how much. I know that it was a lot of money, okay? In fact, I wrote an email on this yesterday, which I was just talking about, how I'm sick of hearing this and how it pisses me off. Okay, so if you're on my email list, you should go on to, I think it was June 22nd or June 23rd when I wrote the email. If you're listening to this podcast way past that, then I don't know. Send me a support ticket and I'll send you the email if you want. Okay?
Yep.
Then I finally figured it out. Right?
Yeah.
So actually, it didn't really happen that way. So, what happened was I got a partner that had money. I kind of fell into that because we were already partners in a different business, and so I kind of fell into that. And we kind of figured things out. We spent a little bit of money. I went and got some coaching. A few things like that. And then next thing you know, we started doing 7 or 8 deals a month. Okay?
Yep.
Then 2008 came along.
Yeah, goodbye.
Yeah, it changed my life.
Yeah.
The market falls about, I think it's 20 or 30%. Okay? I think it was 20%, but I put 30 just in case I'm not right. Somebody can, but I think it was 20 or 30%.
You get no argument that it fell. It fell.
Yeah. I think it was 20%. I don't think the market's ever fallen more than 20% anywhere nationally. You know what I mean? So it really killed my promise to retire off these deals and crashed. It just crashed around me. It just killed everything. It was like I had this whole plan and I was going along and I had millions of dollars worth of real estate and who I thought I was, right? Then, in the middle of all of me trying to recover from this 2008 thing, as much as I could, my partner pulls the pin on his hand grenade and tells me he wants out. As he puts it, I don't want to do these type of deals anymore. I'm 73 years old at the time and just want to do cash deals. Mm-hmm. So I was doing a lot of subject to, lease options, financing, all that kind of stuff. And after building excuse me, I don't know what's the matter with my throat this morning. After building a multi-million-dollar empire, I was forced to start eating humble pie for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I kid you not. That was a very, I think I was in my mid 40s, and I don't know if you've ever gone through that, Pete, before, but I can't even explain what it's like when you lose everything.
Is it like when you go to the grocery store, you don't have a credit card, you don't have any savings or checking accounts, and you need to buy food, you have to check how much you have in your wallet to see how much you can buy?
that's a good time of your life when you can do that, because at least you had money in your wallet.
Like $27.
I mean, I kid you not. I mean,
geez, really?
I was getting served. I mean, my wife and I would not answer the door. I had sheriffs, I had lawsuits, I had all kinds of stuff. And it wasn't just because of the house business. I owned a gas station too, and we closed the gas station at the same time.
Yeah.
And it was just, it just humbled the hell out of me. I mean, it was not a good time, right? So it took me about 5 years to dig out, and about $500,000 in hard-earned cash to get me out of trouble. So my philosophy was the tool that got me in trouble has to get me out of trouble. Right? That was my philosophy.
Sure.
So I didn't give up on real estate. I just said, hey, this is what got me in trouble. It's gotta help me fix it. Right? So after beating myself up, belittling my outgoing personality, myself, and willing to take risk, I realized I had a lot of knowledge, and that's all I had. I didn't have anything else. I had a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge, and that was it. So I was like stuck with my own resources. At that point, I didn't have support from anybody because I had lost everything. I had nothing. All I had is what I thought I knew. And if you've ever been through that, you start to second guess yourself because you think what you knew wasn't right, because look where I am.
Oh, sure. I mean,
Right?
What did I do wrong? All that stuff. Everybody does that. What did I do wrong? What's wrong with me? Am I stupid?
Yeah.
What did I do wrong? Don't do it again.
Right. And you have to be careful, because what happens is that stuff sneaks into your subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind is always working below your awareness level. So you don't know that it's like working against you most of the time. You think you're analytical all the time, and you think you got things under control, and you have no idea that these skeletons are haunting you. You don't even know that.
Yeah.
Which is why I have a lot of trouble with when somebody tells me they got to think about it.
Yeah.
And that tells me that they actually believe that they're analytical all the time, and that they don't have this subconscious mind that sneaks in. And subconscious mind is like, nervous hysteria, that's anxiety, it's worrying.
Yeah.
It's all these feelings that you have that you can't explain, but they're just there.
Right, and they're not really specific at all. It's not like a thought. It's not like a piece of information that you can look at and go, well, if I do this, if I do that, let me do a little Googling on it. It's not that good. It's just raw feelings a lot of the times. That just sucks.
Right.
Yeah.
So it took me a while to kind of muster up my energy, to get all that negative energy out of my mind, out of my head. So I don't know what you're doing with your camera there, but you got half your head cut off.
Yeah, hang on. I moved my laptop so I can see your picture better.
Oh, there you go.
Because you were dark, and then move it around.
It's totally fine. It just you'll be like, how come you didn't tell me that, Bill? So it took me a while to kind of muster up my energy and get my get that knowledge into motion again, right? And I wasn't even sure I wanted to do that. I mean, I was kind of like a little bit lost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, not because of fear like most people have, because there's one thing that I for some reason don't have, or that gene in me is very small, is fear. I guess you can say it's arrogance. My mom used to tell me I was pompous. I found out later that it had just confident in myself. You know what I mean? If you're around me, and I'm not bragging or anything like that, I hope you don't take it that way, but if you're around me, I'm usually pretty calm. You know what I mean? I mean, I get emotional, when I'm talking and stuff like that, but, if I'm worried about something, I go do research on it, and I figure it out, and I just kind of work at it.
Well, that's what I notice about you, because I hang around you a lot, and we do deals. you have this attitude like, well, if something comes up, I'll figure it out. Now, I'm like that in some parts of my life. In real estate, I'm not that confident yet, but I'm starting to get the idea like, well, I'll be able to figure it out. I'll sort it out. I'm not stupid. It'll be fine. And that's all you really have to do. You can't know. I have a music student that starts to practice, and he makes a mistake, and he caves in and can't practice. Jesus, it's a guitar. Relax. Nothing bad's going to happen. But it hits him so hard. So I can only imagine how some people feel with something actually more important, you know. But they'll just have something hit them, and they'll just feel bad, and they'll worry about it. Well, you have to trust yourself that you're not stupid. You can figure it out. The world's not going to end. Everything that happened is gone, and you're still here. Nothing got you because you're still here. So, you know, don't worry about it too much. Do your research. Ask questions. Call your people.
So when you say cave in, you mean like he introverted. He like goes inside himself and he doesn't like think of the outside world.
Yeah, but I watch that and other people, and I can tell from little conversation just watching that they get picked on. People say you're stupid. You know, that whole thing where people don't support them. They don't get positive and reinforcement. So they're working from a short deck in a way. You know, they don't have much fuse. So they're kind of sensitive to things happening. So you have to do some stuff, get some wins, find out you can do it, build your confidence, and keep moving forward and get stronger. Don't get weaker. That ain't gonna work. Get stronger. So do it.
I call. I don't want to go off on this tangent, which we're already on, but I call that horsepower. You got to have horsepower. You got to get through it.
Yeah.
You know, not everything is going to be, you know, nice, pleasant moments all the time. You know, my father used to say to me when I was young, you can't appreciate the rain. No, you can't appreciate the sunshine until it rains.
Yeah.
Right? He used to tell me that all the time. So you got to have some fear. You got to have some. I mean, the pendulum swings both ways. So what you got to do is realize, well, I'm going through my funk right now. I guess it's going to come up because, you know, if the pendulum swings really bad one way, it's going to come back the same distance to go the other way.
Yeah.
You know, I remember I went on my first marriage. I've been married twice. My first marriage, we went on a honeymoon, and we were gone 3.5 weeks in California. And we came back to find out my apartment. Oh, we can hear the saws now. The apartment had burned down.
What? The place you lived in?
There was a note on the door saying, "Come to our house to sleep." Okay.
You never told me. I'm sorry. You never told. I've never heard that one.
Wow. Something just happened with your sound. You got really loud. But anyways,
I didn't do it. Okay. Am I okay now?
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyways, going back to my story, that's when I met you, Peter. You came along and you sort of fired me up again. I was doing a deal or two a year, which, by the way, even when I wasn't active, I always managed to make $75,000 or $100,000. Usually $100,000 a year just on doing a couple real estate deals. You know, I just managed to do that. I mean, I was doing deals. I remember one deal I did one deal that year, and it was $78,000.
Not a terrible thing.
Yeah. So, all right, good. So Peter kind of talked me into using my knowledge by asking questions and saying, how do you do it? And he kind of like got me out of my cocoon. And then once I started explaining to Pete how much money you can make, and with this for rent to own system, which is what we're going to talk about today, both for buyers and sellers, my revelation was that this was the Nelson Rockefeller system, where he talked about owning nothing and controlling everything. And it was evergreen. Wow, that's getting loud. And it's evergreen.
You know, I have a door that I can shut. Oh boy.
Okay. So go ahead. I'll keep going.
Yeah, I have to unhook myself though. Go ahead. I'll be back.
You might, yeah. So, the Nelson Rockefeller system on rent to own or lease with an option. Just mute yourself, Pete. Pete, just mute yourself. Pete, oh, you can't hear me. I took the headphones off. And it was mute yourself.
Oh, how do I mute myself?
Anyways, I'm going to keep going while he deals with his tree cutting thing over there. So, Nelson Rockefeller talked about owning nothing and controlling everything, and it was kind of evergreen. It did nothing. It really didn't matter what kind of an economy we were in, right? This always worked, and the reason why this revelation came on is because I had been doing it for so long. I actually had come through a few cycles, like the 2008 cycle, because I noticed that when everything crashed in 2008, those deals that I did on a rent to own or where I leased them didn't scathe me. They didn't hurt me. I didn't have to dig those deals out. I didn't have to go raise money or sell them or do weird things to stay in the deal. Those were the good deals. Those were the ones that kind of carried me through. Those were the ones that kind of helped me in the bad times. So by me showing you this little rent-own system today, you're gonna see that it's a perfect way to make money in real estate without a license, without credit, money for deposits, entities, loan officers, realtors, and hard and difficult closings. Okay, so here's an overview of what this rent-to-own system kind of looks like. And if you think that you've heard me say this before, please stick with me, because I'm just kind of covering it in case this is somebody's first podcast, and I have a few twists in there that I think you've never heard me say before. And then towards the end of the show, I'm going to give you 5 or 6 steps on how to actually do this, where to find leads, how to talk to them, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so the overview of this system is pretty much this. Number one, you use the internet, because that's something I didn't have for half my career, right, Pete?
Yeah.
I've been doing this 20 years, and it's like I've only had the internet for 8 or 10 years. So before that, we didn't use the internet, right?
It's so weird. I mean, how did we live?
I know.
How do we live without, seriously, without a phone that's a computer? Like, hey, where's some place to eat? Wait a minute, Google. Okay, where is it?
Right.
Click. I mean, how'd we get along in those days?
Totally. That's a big thing at the cigar shop. We'll all be sitting around talking, and somebody will be like, Google it. It's like a fact checker, and the truth is that half the shit that's on Google isn't even a fact.
I know. I can't trust anything anymore.
Here's an overview of the system that I'm talking about. Okay, so number one, you use the internet to find a motivated seller, which is people who are eager to sell. They're not desperate. They're eager to sell, and are willing to get someone in the house to pay their expenses and their bills, do the repairs and maintenance, and take care of the house. And number two, once you find someone who says yes, you educate them. And that's a big point, because I think next week's podcast is going to be slanted heavily towards this, but you need to educate your seller. Because what I talk about all the time is the realtor system has educated them that they're the only system. They've actually built a monopoly that they're getting away with, because there's not anybody organized enough to contest what they're doing.
Yeah, right? all this real estate investors are just individuals. We don't have groups. We have meetings we go to sometimes in clubs, but we're on our own. We're not part of because we're doing our own thing. So.
There's no association. My goodness, there's no association, right?
Yeah.
Like the Realtor Association, which the oddity is the reason why the Realtor Association was formed in 1949 is because realtors were so out of ethics, unethical people, that they had to create a creed of honesty, right?
Yeah.
And they had to create these bylaws, and the National Real Estate Association was to enforce those laws.
Yeah.
Right. That integrity, they had to put that in, because the realtors were considered charlatans. They were like, snake oil salespeople.
Yeah.
And until they wrote that code of ethics, and started implementing it with the association. So the association was formed to put in their code of ethics, right? But most people don't know that because it's so many years ago. I mean, it's 70 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So
you would never think that. I mean, it's so organized. It's got to be hard to get away with anything because there's so many people there. Somebody will catch it. Somebody will police it, and there's laws. That's so weird.
So, unfortunately, real estate is like a shoe store, right? You go in and it's like, what size do you want? It's like you could pick out a specific shoe, but like, what size do you want? So first thing, you got to go in a shoe store and you got to figure out which shoe you like, and then once you figure out what shoe you like, what size are you, right? So it's like layers. So like the realtor might be good at, okay, you picked out the right shoe, but what they're not good at, what size do you like? So, the thing that a realtor can't do that we can do, and we're off on a tangent here, but a thing that a realtor can't do that we can do is take time out of this. They can't guarantee a sale, and they can't take time out of it.
Right.
So,
well, they're looking for the buyer, and often we are the buyer.
Right. So once you find someone who says yes to one of your deals, you have to educate them on how you and your system can help them. Right. Mostly that this renter will treat the seller's property as if they owned it, because they will own it. I mean, think about this. It's kind of like if you did a rent to own on your car. You're not going to be driving the car in the woods and scratching the paint and all that, because eventually, it's kind of like, I'm talking like this is some new concept. It's called the lease business in the cars.
Yeah.
My wife leased a car, which was horrendous, but she leased a Mazda, and she took care of that thing because she actually thought at the end of the lease she was going to buy it. Mm-hmm. Right? So she scratched it. Something happened with her son or something, and she scratched the car. It was like this scratch that was like a quarter of an inch down on the bumper, and she freaked out for like a week about the scratch because she was renting it to own.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, this concept we're talking about isn't rampant in the car business. I mean, think about it. I would say probably 50% of the cars that are on the road right now are leased to own.
Yeah, both my sons lease to own. And even when they turn them in, they have it set up so that if you kind of wreck the car or drive too many miles, you have to pay for it. So they take care of it because there's a penalty if they don't.
Right. So houses are the same way, right?
Yep.
These people that move in, they're going to take care of them because they're going to rent it to own it. They're going to own it in the end, and they don't want it to be dilapidated. Or they walk away, and if they walk away, they're going to lose their non-refundable deposit, which is substantial. And that's where I come in and say, okay, when my business changed, I say I make more money on the defaults than I do them staying there, because if they walk away from a $10 or $15 or $20,000 deposit, I get to keep it and I get to go do it again.
Right.
Because they still have the house, right? So, step three of the process, or the third point of the process or the system is you structure the deal. So the first one, let me go back to it. So the first one is you use the internet, you find a motivated seller, right?
Yep.
And then you find someone who's going to take over your promises. You're going to go find your buyer, right? And number three, you structure the deal with an assignable lease option. And that's the magic of our business, those three words: assignable lease option. Right?
Yep.
So that's where most real estate investors get glossy-eyed. They lose it. So basically what I'm saying is that you go, well, I'm going to go over that in a minute, but you go find a deal, you do the paperwork, and then you assign it to somebody else for a fee. Mm-hmm. Right? That's like unheard of as realtors. I don't know why they don't do it, but step number three is you structure the deal with an assignable lease option, which gives the tenant's buyer the right to buy the house or buy the property at a certain price with a certain amount of time. So it's not open-ended, it's very clear. Mm-hmm. Now here is why most investors have not made a deal. Ready?
Ready. What is it?
Your role in this whole thing is to find a seller who is willing, find a buyer who is qualified, and match make the deal. So it's kind of a misnomer because people are like, I need to buy a house. I'm telling you, no, you don't need to buy a house. What you need to do is you need to buy a contract. So if your seller is willing to sign an option agreement with you and give you the rights to sell their house with a clarified price and a clarified time limit, and you sign that document and you give them $10 or $50 or $100, I would not suggest more than $100, for having those rights to sell his house. So you just bought the rights to sell his house, much like they do on New York Stock Exchange every day with stocks, right? You just built yourself a business because you're going to assign those rights to a buyer for a much higher fee. Often $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, depending on how much you sell the house for, because it's a percentage of the house. It's usually 3 to 5% of the price of the house, usually. So why would a seller do that? Well, because that fee that they're paying us actually goes towards their deposit when they go from the option agreement to the purchase and sales agreement. So they're not losing their money unless they leave the property.
Right. So that's the buyer. When they put the deposit down,
Right.
That'll count because they have to go to the bank and get a mortgage at some point.
Right.
And the bank says, well, how much do you need? Well, I only need this much because I already put a deposit down. They show it.
Right.
They go, oh, good for you. You put $10,000 down. Good. You got a head start. And all you have to do is come up with the rest. It's not 100% anymore. That wouldn't work.
In the meantime, we're going to help the seller get qualified for a mortgage within usually a 2-year period.
The buyer. You said
I'm
seller.
sorry, the buyer.
Yeah.
Okay, so the buyer. So we're going to help the buyer get qualified for a mortgage, right? The seller is usually going to make more money because, as we talk about all the time, or I do, if I were to sell you my Mac computer for $1,000 cash today, and you gave me $1,000 in cash, right? You paid $1,000 for it. But if you bought that same $1,000 computer and you swiped a credit card and paid for it over 24 months, you're going to pay more for that computer, right?
That's right.
That's what we do with houses. And the seller already understands that. Now, I want to make a point here, and I'm diverting before we go to step 4. One thing that I realized recently, because I write a lot about this stuff, right? So one thing I realized recently is going back to step 2. Let me make sure it's step 2. Step 2 is you have to educate your seller on how this is beneficial to them. It's because what happens is if your buyer is going to pay a premium price, you're going to pass some of that on to your seller. So they're going to get a higher price for waiting.
Right.
Right? Just like when you swipe your credit card, the credit card company is going to get their fees. Well, in this particular case, the seller is going to become that credit card company, right? They're going to be lending the money.
Sure.
Okay.
What?
The chainsaw again. So anyways, so what happens is you have to educate your seller on how this works and why it's beneficial to them and why they should wait and how they're getting paid, right? The thing that you don't have to do is you don't have to educate your buyer because your buyer already knows how this works because they're pretty desperate to get a house, right? So they've already done their research. They already know what this is like. They already know how this works. So you don't have to do much educating for your buyer. So your matchmaking is easy.
Yeah, I've seen you have people that hadn't heard about this, but boy, as soon as you tell them, they go, okay, I'll do it. I mean, you don't have to convince them. I mean, there are usually people that are looking for rentals they can't rent, and tell them you can rent this one and then buy it. They go, oh, sure, what do I got to do? I'll take it. They don't take much convincing. It's a great benefit to them.
Right. So basically, step 4 is you get control of the property without owning it. You don't have the deed in your name, right? So you're not representing the property like a realtor would, because you have the rights to buy the property, which makes you an equity share or an equity owner in this property, which means you don't need a license.
Mm-hmm.
And you can still get fees, right? Or you can still get paid. You don't use the word fees because the legal beagles will eat you up on that one, but you get paid, right? Usually within hours of getting lease option agreements from your seller, you can start advertising it and start receiving applications, right? From decent, hardworking families who are pretty desperate to move into a house, right?
Oh yeah.
And all you have to do at that point is just select one if you do some simple marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Then that brings you to step number 5, which is the last step. You close the deal. You immediately collect the non-refundable option consideration deposit we were just talking about, which is your money now. Right? So we talk about money now, money monthly, money later.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That little simple formula is not thought about enough, but that formula, money now, money monthly, money later, is your retirement income. That's how most people are going to get how they're going to fire their boss.
Yeah.
Is with that formula. It's money now, money monthly, money later, right? So you get the deposit as your money now, and then the tenant buyer moves in, treats the house like it's their own home, and pay you rents, which is your money monthly, and preferably it's 20 to 25% of whatever you're collecting. Right? So
right.
If it's 1,000, so basically here's a rule of thumb, which I don't think I've ever used, and I use it in my head just to do math. For every $1,000 the rent is, it's $200 profit.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So $2,000 would be $400 a month profit. $3,000 would be $600 a month profit.
Right.
It's just easy math to use. Now that's not exact, but at least it tells you whether or not you should be staying in that deal or not.
Right, because the money comes in and it gets dispersed for the expenses, and there should be some left for you, $200, $300, $400.
Right. Okay, so eventually the buyer will be in a position to get a favorable mortgage for them and buy the house, which is when you get paid, which is when you get the money and you pay off your seller, and you get your money, which is the money later. Right? So it should be around 15%. 15 to 20%. 15% is if you're going to do a rent to own. If you're going to do like a subject to deal where you take over the deed and you have the deed in your name, and it's a little bit more riskier for you because now the house is in your name and the liability is in your name. You got to get at least 20%.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
That's when the house sells?
Right. So they get paid.
Yeah.
Or, as we talk about all the time, we do this thing called a slot deal, which is a sandwich lease option transfer, which is kind of a joke because you and I were talking about it, and it's like, oh yeah, Peter, you put $10 in and you get $10,000 out. It's like, it's like pulling the lever at the casino, right? So if you don't have 15% worth of equity and 20 or 25% of income, you can flip, right, in quotation, you can flip this property, right, to a buyer for a $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, $25,000 fee, depending on how much the price of the house is.
Yeah.
Right? It's $100,000, it might be a $3,000 commission. If it's a $200,000, it might be, $5,000 or $10,000. If it's an $800,000 house, you could make $25,000, $30,000, $50,000 because it's a percentage of the price of the house. Because the down payment, on a $100,000 or $200,000 house is you want them to have enough down payment so that you have the deposit money to get them applied for an FHA mortgage, which is a government mortgage, right? Which most people can apply for because they don't really go after credit. They want to put people in houses, so there's other criteria, right? So you want to get that money in the bank because you don't want, it's kind of like this, Pete. It's kind of like it's kind of like being a bail bondsman, right?
Yeah.
Bail bondsman puts their money up, and then if the guy doesn't show up or the girl doesn't show up to court, they got to go chase him, right?
Mm.
So if you don't get that money up front for their closing, then you're going to have to go chase them.
Right.
Right? So you got enough problems. You don't want to worry about that. So you make them give the money up front. So the money is not a problem because you're going to have other situations on how to get them qualified. You don't want to have money be one of those problems. So you don't want to put a buyer in a house without sufficient funds and set them up for failure. Okay? Because let's face it, every loan, now I used to be in the car business and I've given thousands of loans. I mean, thousands of loans over 25 years, right? Almost always people think, oh, well, I'll pay it off early or I'll make extra payments when they get the loan. And almost always because, I still get paid. I have a company, I had 600 or 800 loans with them. And I still get paid every monthly money from that company. And I've been out of that business for 11 years.
Right? 11 years later?
11
so
years
what?
later,
When they pay off the loan, there's some residual money you get?
Yeah.
11 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the company collects 20% of the money, but some of it's like, lawsuits, but it's 11 years later.
Huh.
The point is almost every one of those clients thought, oh, I'm going to pay it off early, and they don't. So you don't want to have that in the customer's head. They're thinking, the buyer's head, oh, well, we can use our tax returns, or we can do this or do that. And inevitably, that never seems to happen. So you don't want to be in that position where you got to chase the money. It's hard enough that you got to fix their credit and get them qualified. You don't want to have that hurdle too. Okay, so that's my point.
Right,
so,
and you're not doing the credit yourself. You hire a company to do that.
Yeah, we outsource everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So what happens is, you become a matchmaker. That's what this little system is. So, and I know that I've talked about this before, and I promise you, in a couple minutes, I'm gonna get to some juicy stuff that's gonna blow everybody away. Because I've been doing this on my private consulting calls, and it's been amazing results. Okay, so is that clear? That we're going to do that. I want to go over the steps again, okay? Just to summarize them, because we kind of chit-chatted in there, right? So the first step of this little system I'm talking about is that you go on the internet, you find motivated sellers, people that are eager to sell, not desperate, right? Then you're going to go find a buyer that's willing to keep those commitments for you. In other words, pay and do all the maintenance, and because you're telling your seller you don't have to do any of that. Well, I'm not going to do it. The buyer's going to do it. Right? So you go find your buyer. Then you structure the deal with an assignable lease option. That's the magic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Once you do that, that means you're in control of the property, but you don't own it. So you have all the profit, but you don't have all the liability. Right? Then the last step is you close the deal immediately and collect your non-refundable deposit. If you're staying in the deal, then you're going to collect your money monthly at 25 or 30%. And then eventually you're going to get your 15% equity when the seller gets qualified for the mortgage, brings it to the closing table, you pay off your seller, you get your money, right? Now, if you can't get 15% worth of equity and 20 or 25% worth of cash flow because the seller either owes too much or they could own it free and clear and just don't want to sell it for anything less than the maximum price that it's worth, you could then sell the property. You can create your own equity because what you can do is you could sell the property. Let's say they're asking for 100 and it's worth 100. You can get a premium price for that and sell it to your, just for number's sake, you could sell it to your buyer for like 110. They give you a $10,000 deposit, which is where you get your fee from. And you provide the buyer and the seller with a lease with an option to purchase. You do the paperwork for them and you're done. So basically, you're going to just get a fee for being a matchmaker and doing the paperwork. And you don't need to worry about having a license to do this because you sign an assignable lease option with your seller, and you are now part owner or an equity share or have the rights to sell that house legally, and you don't need to have a license. Okay?
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
So now that we understand that and got that out of the way, let's go over a quick start guide on how you can set this little system up quickly.
All right.
Okay? So one, what I would do is I would go in this, and I've never said this on a podcast in this sequence, and because it's normally something I would do in coaching, and I get paid, a lot more money than I get paid here. Did you get your paycheck last week from the podcast?
No, did you send it?
So number one.
Oh, by the way, Bill. By the way, you don't remember this, but you told me at the beginning to just keep a record. So every week I have a record. I'll let you know.
Yeah. Good luck on collecting that.
Hey, I know where you live.
So do a lot of other people. Hey, do you also know that where I live has a closet full of some guns?
No, I'd like to see him sometime.
Actually, I'll show you my guns, but I'm not going to show you my coin collection.
I was going to show you mine.
You better bring that with you tomorrow or Friday when you come. I want to see that. Anyways, let's get back to here. So, number one, my little system. So you go to My Plus Leads. It's an internet site. And you buy their monthly subscription for sale by owners, and it's $29 a month. You go in, once you get signed up and get set up, you go into the dashboard and you go back in time until you can get about 200 leads. So you may go back 15 days, or you may go back 30 days, or you might have to go back 3 months. Because that's why we use My Plus Leads, is because it allows you to do that, and it has a nice dashboard. There are a lot of companies that do this, and you could do whatever you want. If you have a better company, then please send me a support ticket so I can check it out.
We'd like to know.
But, yeah, through the years, this is the one that I found because it's easy to use. So you go to My Plus Leads for $29 a month, and you pull about 200 names. And it's going to come in an Excel spreadsheet. If you don't have Excel on your computer, you can use Google Sheets. So you don't have to go buy Excel, because I have some clients that don't have Excel, some older clients that don't have Excel. So use Google Sheets, and it will allow you to do everything that Excel will allow you to do, because it's an Excel just online. Okay, so just type in Google Sheets and you'll find it, right, into Google. Download the Excel sheet and take everything out of the spreadsheet, the titles or the columns, out of the spreadsheet except for the owner's first name, last name, the phone number, the house address, and the mailing address. Everything else comes out. So you want to keep the owner's first name, the owner's last name, you want to keep the phone number, you want to keep the house address, and you want to keep the mailing address. Okay?
Yeah, so there'd be the house property where that is, and the address of where the owner is, because it'll be someplace else.
They're two different addresses.
Yeah. Well, they're not always, but we're looking for the ones. Do they send only the ones that are different addresses, or we have to do that?
Yeah, that's a different list. I'm sorry. You're right. But you want to make sure you get the mailing address, because often those houses are not the same address.
Yeah, which means he's not there. They're renting it. It's vacant.
I'll give you a little hint. Here. If you look them up, and I don't expect you to go look all these properties up on Zillow, but if for some reason you're looking at the property on Zillow or Redfin or RealQuest or any one of those other websites, right? If the address, the mailing address, and the property address are the same address, and the house is vacant, the likelihood of it being motivated is going to be pretty high.
Say the last thing again. You dropped out on me. The last line. If they're both vacant, what
No.
happens?
No, it's that damn chainsaw.
I know
said
it cuts. If when sound goes this way on Zoom, like it cuts off yours. So if the address is the same, like the guy should be living there, but it's vacant, what does that mean?
So if the mailing address and the address of the property are the same, and the house is vacant, the likelihood of them being motivated is pretty high.
Yeah, because they're not living there. Where'd they go?
Well, they have multiple bills on everything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not 100%, but the likelihood that they're motivated is pretty high.
Yeah, well, they're paying for it, and nobody's living there, so money's not coming in, no matter what, right?
That's the assumption, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but I don't want people going off doing all that kind of stuff. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Just get 200 names, about 200 names, okay?
Yep.
Once you get those 200 names, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to go to a website that's called textmagic.com, textmagic.com. And TextMagic doesn't have a monthly fee. What you do is you buy a phone number, which I think is $4 a month, $3.99 or something like that. And you pay a half a cent per text going out and a half a cent per text coming in. Now, often with my coaching clients, I tell them just put $10 in there and that'll last you for a little while. We do a lot of texting, so I usually put like $50 a month in there or something like that. It's not a lot of money, right? So you upload this MyPlus Leads Excel spreadsheet into TextMagic. Okay?
Sure.
Which TextMagic has videos on how to do that. Okay? Once it's in TextMagic, what you need to do is you need to select 25 names a day, Monday through Friday. Now, you don't have to do Monday through Friday. If you want to do weekends, I've had a few coaching clients that do better on weekends. So my point is try to do it 5 days a week. Okay? So you're going to text them. And in TextMagic, you can actually preload your scripts so you don't have to keep typing, which is a big advantage of TextMagic. And you don't have to you can use your cell phone, but not your cell phone number, because you're going to buy a phone number for $4 a month. So you can use your cell phone, or you can use it on an iPad, or you can use it on a laptop or a desktop. You can use it anywhere because it's internet based, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you have Mac or Windows, and well, it does matter if you have Windows. If you have Windows, then you just don't get life.
Bill, I switched.
Had to throw it in.
By the way, I switched. I have doors now.
Oh, you have doors? Oh, okay.
Doors. It's a new one.
All right. So once you, I'm an avid. If Emma was here, she would go off on a tangent right now about how much I'm an avid Mac user. So once you text them, here's what you're going to text them. You're going to text them, is whatever the address is, 123 Main Street, still for sale? And you'll get all kinds of responses. And the beautiful thing about TextMagic is you'll do a broad text with the 25 people, but they'll answer you individually, and you'll have private conversations with them individually. Even though you did a broad text, you'll answer them individually, and it keeps track of, obviously, all the text in the dashboard. It's so easy to use. It's very easy. It's a beautiful, beautiful platform. Okay? And like I said, you can just use it on your phone. Usually what I do is I'll text in the morning. It takes about a half hour, 45 minutes to handle all the, it's with a realtor, or are you a realtor, or who are, there's a bunch of questions that you'll get that will take up about a half hour, maybe 45 minutes of your time. And then once I get through that rush, I'll go off throughout my day, and I'll just handle it like I handle regular text on my cell phone. Right? So if you got a job or whatever, you could do this throughout the day. And the interesting thing about text is that people don't expect an immediate response sometimes. So if you wait a couple hours and don't answer because you're working, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, that's everyday life.
Yeah.
It's like mail, but it's the text.
Right. So first question is 123 Main Street still for sale? Second question is, are you the owner? Third question is, would you be willing to lease the house for a year or two and then sell it to me? Okay. So those are the 3 questions. Those questions will get you far enough along that you'll figure out who to call and who not to call, right? Which is step 3. If they say yes, you jump on the phone with them and you start talking to them about doing a lease option, right? Or a rent to own.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you want, you can go to my website, which is flippinghousesforrookies.com/free stuff. So it's flippinghousesforrookies.com/free stuff. And my for sale by owner script is there. Now, that script was not written for this type of use, but it will help you a lot because it'll get all the questions and all. You'll have to modify it a little bit because you'll be texting them and you already have a conversation going with them. Now, this works really good if you have some fear about doing cold calling because you're going to pre-qualify them before you talk to them. You're already going to have a conversation with them. They want to talk to you because they've given you indicators that they want to do a deal, or they at least want to talk about it because they've texted you. So for those people that have trouble with being on the phone, or they're a little bit introverted and feel like they're stepping outside of their zone, right? That's all it helps all that. Okay. Now, the second thing is if you don't want to use that script, right? You can go to flippinghousesforrookies.com/virtual. That's flippinghousesforrookies.com/virtual. And my new script is there. The script we use for texting is there. Okay? And I'm going to go over that in a minute. So then you're going to go on to step number 4. The only thing, once you're on the phone, right, because you're going to text them and now you're going to get on the phone, you're going to talk to them about doing a lease option. The only thing this phone call should do is find out if they will do a rent to own, or if at least they're curious about it. You don't have to close them. That's a big mistake, right? In fact, we're going to talk about this next week. There's a big difference between pitching somebody and selling somebody something. There's a huge difference between the two of those. And we're going to talk about that next week, because what happens when I listen to my coaching clients' recordings, they're spending too much time pitching people, not selling them something. And there's a huge difference. And like I said, I think we're going to cover that next week. That's a huge part of your career, that when you figure that out, it changes everything. Okay?
Yeah, from my perspective, I get phone calls in sometimes. They got a particular one. Someone's trying to help me with something I don't need help with. They're trying to pitch some kind of nutritional something or other, and I just don't have. And I told them it's not something I'm really interested in, but they keep pitching, and they don't ask me like, what do I need, or they just don't get through to me, you know. So right. I know what you're talking about. They're pitching, and they might as well be talking out the window, because it's nowhere near me. Like, who are you talking to? I'm over here.
You don't want to do that in this call. You don't want to do this on this call. All you want to do is find out if they have an interest. Just find out they have an interest, if they're willing to take monthly payments until you can pay them off. We used to call it a delayed cash out, but the word cash out, not a lot of people understand that.
Yeah.
So it's a delayed. It's actually a delayed payoff. Right. So the only thing you're going to do on this call is find out if they want to do a rent to own, or if they have a little spark of interest, right? And they're curious enough that they'll be willing to let you send them 3 offers. So the phone call, and this is important because, again, I have coaching clients that I talk to every week that I have to go over this and over this and over this, because your instinct is to give them a real estate seminar when you first talk to them. And you don't want to do that.
Bill, are you saying we're impatient?
You got to reel it in. The only purpose of this phone call is to find out if they're willing to take monthly payments until we can pay them off, and if they're willing to let us send them 3 offers so they can review it. That's it. You don't try to close them on the deal and like slam dunk them. 5 years ago, we would do that. That's the Ron LeGrand way to do it. Find the low-hanging fruit. You do an opening call, you feel them out a little bit, then you do a closing call, and you close them, and when you go do the deal meeting, you're just doing paperwork. I think the world is too skeptical for that. And I'm not saying that Ron LeGrand is long, but I just find that it's harder to do that type of business these days. I find that.
Well, if nothing else, it would take a lot more phone calls to find that person that would be that agreeable that easily.
Right.
And you're just saying, like, just take your time, be a little more patient, and send them 3 offers, because that, as you explained, you've got 3 offers, not just one. That'll help the process.
And it makes you kind of like a reluctant buyer and not so pushy.
Yeah.
Okay, like the attitude you have to have with these folks is like, in fact, this came up on the coaching call on Monday night, which was absolutely genius. One of my guys, his name is Kingsley, came up with this, and it was, and I asked him if I could use it, and he said yes, because it was his idea, right? So he said, it's our money. We're giving them our money, and even if it's not our money, it's like a private lender or somebody you borrowed the money from, we're still responsible for that money. So it's like, if you go to your seller and you're going to give them money, it's our money, they have to convince you why we need to give them our money. And a lot of investors don't have that attitude. They don't have the attitude. They're usually begging, or they put the seller on a pedestal, which means the only thing that can happen is the seller looks down on them. Like the seller will look down, like, what's the matter? You don't have enough money? You can't pay me cash?
Yeah.
And they put the investor on defense.
Yeah.
And it's so wrong. It's like, it's just not the right attitude. What has to happen is the investor has to understand what he's about to do for this seller is 1 in a million, because us investors are not on every corner. There's a lot of investors out there. There's a lot of wholesalers out there, but there's not a lot of people that get this training that we're talking about and spend time and actually help these sellers in more ways than one, which is why the realtor system doesn't work, because it only has 1 or 2 ways to help somebody. And if you can't do that, then it doesn't work. Let me give you an example. So a realtor is good for helping somebody that feels like their property is an asset and they want to get the money out, right?
Yeah. It's a pretty house, right? Nice, pretty house.
Right. What about the guy that has a job that needs to do a transfer and he needs to leave in 30 days? How does the realtor system help him then?
Yeah, he's going to ask a realtor, can you sell my house in 30 days? You can't close in 30 days.
Right. So what happens is yes, they'll do it, but it poses more problems for him and more stress for him and more things for him to worry about, and it doesn't solve his problem.
No, they'll just tell him, it doesn't work that way. Like, it doesn't work that way. And too bad, sorry.
I had a house one time where it was 2 alcoholics and they split up. The house was given to the daughter, which is obviously the woman, was given to her free and clear. She owned the house. It was her house. Her mother gave it to her.
Yeah.
She died and gave it to her, right?
Yeah.
Because she was married to this other guy, what happened was he was claiming a stake in the house, saying that they were married, he should get a portion of the house in the divorce. Mm-hmm. Which I think is wrong, but that's the way it was, right? They were drunks, right? They had been in divorce court for over 2 years trying to resolve this issue.
Jeez.
She didn't want to sell the house, right? She didn't want to go to a realtor. She was living there. And the reason why is because when I dug into it, she had a Sunday afternoon cooking ham credit score.
A what?
Sunday afternoon cooking a ham credit score.
I've never heard that. What is that?
It's you cook a ham at 350 degrees, right?
Oh, okay.
She had a 350 credit score.
Okay.
Right?
Woo!
So she had no place to go. Even if she sold the house and had all this money that the realtor was going to give her, like, I don't know, $100 and something thousand, she didn't have a place to live.
Yeah.
So my acquisition manager at the time took her on the 3-mile tour, right, and actually found a place for her to live. It was one of those apartment complexes. I called the property manager, and I paid, I think I paid 2 years worth of rent and gave him a security deposit for the pets. And
Now,
that's how I made the deal.
From the proceeds of the sale.
What proceeds? I'm buying the property.
Yeah.
There were no proceeds.
Yeah.
It was.
So
you
you just paid it?
I paid it. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I went and got a private loan, and I paid off. She had a $6,000 car loan that was on the deed, on her credit line, and I paid that off. I paid the 2 years worth of rent, the security deposit. I paid off her credit card, which was $10,000, and I gave her $10,000 in cash to live for the year, until she'd get on her feet and get going.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Realtor didn't do that.
Who would do that?
Right.
I mean, how many investors would even do that? Like, nah, walk away.
Right. So my point is that when you start talking to people and you understand these things, and we're going to talk about this next week on the podcast, and we talked about it in episode 205 and 206 on how to handle rebuttals. Next week we're going to talk about, how you should act or how you should present. Anyways, I keep talking about next week. So basically, what I'm trying to tell you is you on this phone call, which is step 4, on this phone call, okay, you're not trying to close them to do a deal with you. So go light. Just all you're trying to do is find out if they're willing to consider it and if they're willing to take your 3 offers. Mm-hmm. Now, you're probably wondering, how do you make these 3 offers? So I'm not pitching you right now. I'm actually selling you, okay, because there's no other way to do this that I know of. I mean, the 3 offers are going to be a slot deal, a sandwich lease option transaction. It's going to be a lease option where you're going to get 15% worth of equity and 20 or 25% worth of cash flow and a cash price. And the cash price is so low that if they say yes, you'll have no trouble finding money. You can go wholesale it and make money. Okay?
But that's part of the beauty of it. Having the 3 offers, they can see, oh, that's too high, that's too low. It's like, my porridge is too hot, my porridge is too cold. They can pick one. And if they like hot porridge, you get the part. If they like that low cash offer, okay.
Correct.
Why not?
So you go to flippinghouses4rookies.com/virtual, and you can buy my text script, my phone script, my offer calculator, my 8-page offer pack, and my 1-page lease option for $37.
Is that per day?
No, that's the total price.
Just
So if you go to flippinghouses4rookies.com/virtual, you can buy the text script, the phone script, the offer calculator, which the offer calculator is the magic because you put in there 4 or 5 comps and it automatically tells you the 3 offers. It calculates the 3 offers for you. Magical.
I would spend $37 just to have that do that once for me. And sitting there trying to figure out how much should it be, all that aggravation, forget it. I would pay that every time if I had to.
Exactly. Then you get my 8-page offer pack, right? And then you get my 1-page lease option agreement for $37. Okay, so this is part of my little system that we're talking about. Now, yeah, you got to give me $37, and yeah, I could probably give it to you away for free, but honestly, if I don't make you pay some money, then you won't. And you got a valid point there. Maybe we'll do that, Peter. Every time you want to do it, we'll charge $37.
No, the thing is so valuable. Imagine sitting there trying to come up with 3 offers, and you don't know what you're doing. Is it too high? Is it too low? This isn't right. You'd sweat so much doing that, you wouldn't even do the offers. Just have the calculator tell you what it is and send the damn thing.
Honest to God, my coaching clients spend between 5 and 10 minutes making an offer. They do exactly what I'm talking about here. They get on the phone, and in fact, I have a coaching client that doesn't even get on the phone sometimes. If there's an email on Zillow, for sale by own on the Zillow site, he just sends them the 3 offers.
Without doing any of the talking stuff?
Correct.
Oh, that's amazing. Is it a boy or is it a girl?
It's Phil.
Phil. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So here's what happens. The phone should get them to be interested. So you send them the lease option offer, the slot deal offer, the cash deal offer, right? You use these documents that I'm talking about, these different documents, which is the system within itself, right? It's the entire system, right? And there's a video there on how I use them, right? And you send them these documents, And if you do this at least once a day, that means you're making 5 offers a week.
Yep.
Right? Within a month, you have to do a deal. Now, here's the interesting thing. You got to listen to this, and I'm taking way too much time. I haven't even gotten to what I want to do in this podcast yet. I'm telling you, I haven't even gotten to the meat and potatoes yet because I'm going to blow you. I'm going to blow you away in the next couple minutes.
Well, give it to us. It's 10:30. Give it to us.
Yeah. So, but I have to get through all this stuff so you can understand it. I think, because otherwise, you won't get it. That's what I think. Maybe I'm being arrogant, but it's because I've explained this many other places. That's why I'm doing this podcast again, so it's clear.
Yeah.
If you're not doing a deal, do what we're talking about in this podcast.
Well, what's crazy is, and I don't mean to take more time, but what we started talking about at the beginning is people who spend thousands, tens of thousands, and we've talked to them. They come to the meetups and they're almost crying. They spend $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 and they've never done a deal. You don't have to spend that much money. I mean, I'm not even pitching now, but just the system you just showed, right. $37. Ouch!
Right.
Come on.
So here's what my thought process is, and I use it so I know it works. So you talk to somebody on Monday, you send them an offer, which takes about 10 minutes with this paperwork to do, right? By email, so they get it either Monday or Tuesday morning.
Right.
We use a website called ClickSend. Actually, it's clicksend.com/US/post. So it's ClickSend, www.clicksend.com/US/post, P-O-S-T. And you upload your 8-page offer into ClickSend and you push a button and it costs like $3 and you mail it. Okay. So that means in 2 or 3 days they get it in the mail. So now you talk to them on Monday. On Tuesday they got your offer by email. By Friday or Saturday they got it in the regular mail. So now you've talked to them 3 times. You've touched them 3 times.
Right.
On the following Monday, on the following Monday, you call them up and say, what'd you think of my offers? Right?
Yeah. I mean, there's the offers. And these offers are not concrete. Like, if you find out something, you can when you talk to them, you can go up and down a little bit. If you have a little more, a little less, you got to start somewhere.
That's right. I have 7 offers, so if they fall into one of the other offers, then if they want to do wholesale or owner financing or subject to, then you found that.
Yeah.
Just do a deal. But here's the point: is they pre-screened themselves out. You didn't do a lot of work pre-screening. You didn't have to do a lot of phone calls. The object is to do an offer, because my saying is, do an offer a day keeps the debt away. An offer a day keeps the debt away. This is a perfect way to do that.
Yeah.
Okay? So, it's important that you do this, and you can do this in about an hour a day if you do what I'm talking about. The magic is that in my virtual, in that virtual video, I show you how to go to Amazon. If you don't want to spend the $20 and $29 a month to do for sale by owners, that if you go to flippinghousesforrookies.com/virtual, I show you how to find the leads on Zillow. You don't have to spend any money. If you don't have $29, then you don't have to spend any money. Okay? All right. So now that's how we've gotten, now that we've got all the steps out of the way, here's the magic of this little system. Okay? And here is the point of the podcast. You ready?
Yeah.
I'm going to 100% kick everything I just said in the garbage pail. Here's what I want you to do. If you have not bought a house to date, if this is your first day or if it's your 300th day trying to buy a house, listen to me carefully, because this part of the podcast is for you. Don't try to buy a house Stop trying to buy houses. Here's why. Get your education first. Apropos, right? Not with Bill. Not with Bill. Make appointments. Go to these houses. Talk about your offers. And get used to how it's done. Do it. Stop talking about it. Stop watching videos. Stop reading. Stop doing all the things that are giving you misunderstoods and confusions. And go out there and roll your sleeves up and do it. And here's what I mean. I want you to screw it up. I want you to make mistakes. I want you to learn how it really is. Not what you think it is, but practice on these appointments. Now, here's what I want you to do. No more than 15 appointments to practice on.
So you're going in not to buy the house, just to practice.
Hang on.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
Just to practice.
So you're going to do this 15 times within a 30-day period. So I know that many of our listeners will spend more than a month to educate themselves. Now let's just say you're in a house for an hour, that's 15 hours. Let's say you're like me and you're verbose and it's 20 hours or 25 hours.
In a month.
So, in a month. Okay, in a month, because I've showed you with the text magic and the My Plus leads how to find these people. What I'm telling you is do not try to buy a house. All you're doing this for is educational purposes. So make appointments. If they have, even if they don't have a little bit of spark, and you want to figure out how to handle some of their questions, or figure out how they're a hard ass and how you're going to handle hard asses, go make an appointment with them and go to the house and actually talk to people.
And you would do this before. You don't send the offers in this situation. You just...
No, you can send the offers.
Yeah?
Yeah, you can send the offers.
Okay.
Or not, but I prefer you send the offers, right? So basically you're going to do everything we talk about, and then so on Monday you're going to talk to them. You're going to say send them an offer. On Tuesday you send it an email. You send it out by the snail mail, which you could do yourself or use click send like we do. Thursday, Friday, Saturday they get the offer in the mail. Monday they you call them back and you're like, are you interested? Right? If they have a little bit of spark, like they have a couple questions, I'll tell you what, why don't I come out to the house and take a look at it, and we'll talk when I get there. Don't try to close them on the phone. Just go make an appointment. If they have a little bit of spark, just a little bit, even if they don't have a spark, just go make some appointments. Just go.
Go talk to people.
Go talk to them, right? It's going to change your life. Now, there's a couple things I want to bring up here. So imagine making 4 or 5 offers a week and doing about 3 house visits a week. Okay? Now, this is the best education ever, because here's what's going to happen. When you buy courses from me, it's like I'm shoving them down your throat and you're not hungry. Or you are hungry, but you can only eat so much because you get full after a while. Right? When you do it this way, you're going to get educated on what you really need, not what I'm telling you need. Right? Plus, now you'll know where your weaknesses are and where to spend money on your education, because now you know where you exactly need help because you went and tried it first. Right?
Right.
So now maybe you need help with deal structuring, so you spend money on that. Or maybe you need help handling the customer's rebuttals, so you need help with that. Maybe, who knows? There's so many different things that maybe it's the paperwork, so you need help with that. But you know exactly where you need help, so now you put your money into that because the rest of it is okay. You got to figure it out. Right?
Do you think people will find that they actually can do some parts of this too, and maybe stop worrying about some parts of this too?
Yeah. So that's exactly what I'm going to say. It builds, it strips down fear and builds confidence immediately.
Yeah. You know what I think people will find? That sellers are actually people. They look like you, they look like me, they look like them, whoever, and they're just people. Right. And they're trying to get a house sold, so they're willing to talk to you usually. They're not usually jerks, you know?
Mostly suspects are mean. By the time they get the offer, you've texted them a few times, you've talked to them a couple times, the likelihood of them being mean or treating you disrespectful, you'll have already figured out.
Yeah.
So like Peter says, this is no different than Peter calling me up and saying, hey, Bill, my cousin just told me their neighbor has a house for sale and they're dying to talk to us. You don't know that person, but the road's been paved for us to go in there and have the conversation with them.
Right.
By this little system, you're doing that. You're paving the road so that by the time you get there, it's going to be a friendly conversation. You don't have nothing to be worried about. And you don't have to have the pressure of, what do I say to them? Because you're not trying to buy the house. You're just getting your education. You're not trying to buy the house. Take that pressure off yourself. Yeah. Like, just go talk to them and see what happens. Don't try to buy the house. Get your education. You would spend 30 grand and go to Ron LeGrand's boot camps, or Robert Kiyosaki, spend 50 grand and go away for a week and do his boot camps. Mm-hmm. Why not spend a week doing this?
Do your own boot camp.
For no money.
Yeah.
Now, lastly, I want to talk about what's going to happen. Because you get into these houses and things are going to happen and you're going to need to hire a coach. How about if I told you you could hire the best coach on planet Earth for free?
For free? Sign me up.
You could hire the best coach on planet Earth for free.
What's that?
Would you do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Who's that, you?
That coach, no. That coach is you.
Me?
You, no. The individual.
I know. I'm teasing you.
How do you do this? You record every phone conversation, every presentation in the house. You record all of it. And then you play back the recording after the phone call. You play it back and listen to yourself talking to that person. Or when you leave a house, you play back the recording on your ride home. And believe me, you will hear your mistakes and adjust quickly. You are your own best coach. And if you do as I say here, you will blow any fear and soar your confidence in days. It is the best seminar that you can absolutely attend, and all it cost you was $37 for my paperwork. And you don't even have to do that if you don't want, right? And who knows? Maybe one of those is a house deal. Because you'll be practicing and that might fall on your lap because you're practicing. Don't go in there trying to buy the house. Just take the pressure off of yourself.
You know what's crazy about what you're saying?
A lot.
Yeah, but there's a part of this. I don't know if you even thought this or the back of your mind or you're not saying it out loud, but I have to say it out loud. People get so needy, it blows the deal, right? If you start just practicing with just a relaxed attitude, like I'm not going to buy the house, I just want to see what it's like. You know what it's like when people practice on the stock market. Just if I bought this, what would happen in 2-3 months, right?
That's a good point. That's a good point. That's a good point.
Right?
That's a great analogy.
Yeah, people have done that. They just practice for a while and they go, damn it, I'm glad I didn't do that, or geez, I should have done that, right?
Right.
But if
learn.
If you do what Bill's telling you, you will practice that relaxed, reluctant, which means I don't need this place. I can take it or leave it. I couldn't give a damn.
Right.
From the very beginning.
And the seller's convincing you to take the deal, and you got to go figure it out now because they're convincing you to take the deal. Pete, Flipping houses for rookies exists because of this exact procedure, because this is what I had you do in the beginning. And back then we thought for sale by owners were a waste of time. So I told you, go practice on some for sale by owners. Remember?
Well,
and you call me back in a week and you're like, I got a deal. What do you mean you got a deal?
Yeah.
You actually did something?
Yeah. Just made some phone calls, and say, I got to practice. I don't know what I'm doing. Let me first practice. And then like the third call, I can come see the house, Bill, and you were shocked.
Yeah.
Right? You were shocked. It was a nice house, too. Doesn't mean you buy them all, but you just got to get going, get in there. Don't wait till it's going to happen. Somebody said, don't wait till you're ready to go. Just put one foot in front of you and just start from whatever you got, wherever you are, and start walking forward.
Right. So I have only one rule to this whole thing. Ready?
Yes.
And I forget to do it a lot, so that's why I'm pushing you to do it.
Oh.
Every house you're in, before you leave, you ask them, do you know anybody else that has a house for sale that I could talk to?
Yeah.
You have to do that. We forget to do that. Yeah. And you will get more leads. If you just start talking around, and if you're clever and you want to use business cards and stuff like that, I'm not even telling you to do any of that right now.
No.
Just go do what we're talking about. This podcast will change your life if you just blindly do what I'm telling you to do and just have faith in what we're telling you and just crawl through your skin a little bit. Just man up. Because I'm going to tell you right now, the money you're looking for is on the other side of fear.
Yeah.
And by the way, I want to give you the punchline here. And you know this because I say it all the time. How do you not lose money in real estate?
Boom. Don't put any money in it.
Right. Which is why we do slot deals and lease option deals when we first start out and learn, because you're not getting a deed in your name. There is no risk for you. The worst thing that can happen is if you completely screw this deal up and your tenants and your sellers are mad at you, but you could walk away. There is no legal ramification. There is no losing money. You put $100 up. You lost $100. And if you want to cry over $100, then get away from me, because you and I don't have the same reality. Okay?
No, to me it's a lot like when a realtor tries to sell your house for 6 months. If it doesn't go, it doesn't go. He leaves, you leave. What are you going to do? Sue him? It's just that's normal life. Like consignment. Sorry, it didn't work out. You tried and it's not there.
Just like Nelson Rockefeller said, own nothing, control everything.
But this is how you stay out of trouble, right? Because you said in the beginning 208 was bad for people and you had trouble. So this is the safe way to do it, right?
This was the lease options are what got me through all that trouble.
Yeah.
Because people kept paying.
Yeah.
And if they left, because everybody was in trouble, they were looking for rentals because they were foreclosing, losing their houses. They needed a place to rent. My business boomed.
Yeah.
That part of the business boomed. Problem was I didn't have enough of them. I had too many of the other kind of deals. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm going to tell you this because I tell you some of my story, and I don't talk about me that way in a lot. I lost everything. It wasn't my first time, but I lost everything. And here's what I learned. And you know this, but I learned it the hard way. Cash is king. When you are looking at your deals, if you do not figure out where the money is now, where the money is monthly, and then where the money is later, you are an absolute fool. That means that you are going to crash. If you're one of those people that you're out there and you're just flipping houses and you're making 90, 100 grand a house or 25 grand a house and you're buying houses and you got a whole system on just buying and selling houses, you're buying MLS properties and you got private lenders and you have construction guys and you got it figured out, and you're doing 2, 3, 4 houses a year, making $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. I have coaching clients like this. You are like a horse with blinders on. You are in trouble and don't know it. Because when the economy changes, and it always does, when the economy changes, you're going to be standing there left holding the bag. And you're going to have to go get your education. You're going to have to learn how to do some creative real estate. You're going to have to learn how to do lease options. You're going to have to learn about all these things because that's what's going to get you through. And guess what? it's going to be too late. Because it's going to take you a while to build that business and get enough houses so you can get enough monthly income that it doesn't matter. I went through COVID. I was down at my sister's house in Florida, and I worked. You know why I worked? When I left here, I planned on taking the month off. The only reason why I worked is because of the online stuff, because of the education portion of my business. The website blew up, and people started buying stuff because they were home and they want to learn how to buy and sell real estate.
Yeah.
I didn't do it. I wasn't working because of the money, because my rents were paying me. all my money was still coming in. I was just going to take a month off and go down there and I don't drink a lot, but when I'm with my sister, I figure I called her up and I'm like, here's what I want to do. I want to have a couple parties. I want to drive around and look at real estate because I want to buy some stuff down there, and I want to wake up late. I want to smoke way too many cigars. I spent a fortune on cigars. I was smoking 3-4 cigars a day.
Oh no.
Yeah, I was like just in hog heaven. Right? But it didn't work out. I was there a few days and I couldn't do that because I had too many people coming at me because they realize with this coronavirus that they have to have some sort of monthly income. This is the way to do it. Cash is king. Every deal has to have cash flow. I used to say every deal you buy has to have equity in it. I've changed. You notice I don't say that too much anymore. No, every deal you buy has to have cash flow. Equity is a time-related thing.
Yeah.
You could have equity today, and then it'll all be gone. That happened to me in 2008. I had all this equity. I had millions of dollars worth of properties.
Yeah.
Millions of dollars worth of properties. And the equity disappeared literally in a week. In a week. Because I remember it happened. One mortgage company went down, then another one went down, and another one went down. And within 30 days, it was like an atom bomb went off and it leveled the city. It was unbelievable. So you don't have to take my advice, like some of my coaching clients haven't, because it hasn't happened to them. Now the only good thing is if you've been making all that money, you could live through it. You have to give some money back until you figure out how to do lease options. But I'm telling you, this is a staple in your business. I'm not telling you not to do rehabs. I'm not telling you that when you start doing this little system I'm talking about, that you're not going to find all kinds of deals. You're going to find wholesale deals. You're going to find probate deals. That's fine. When you find them, deal with them appropriately. But what you need to do is you need to go practice how to talk to sellers. We're different than everybody else. This is the pretty house business. This is not the ugly house business. You need to understand how to talk to sellers. You need to know how to do some of the things we're talking about in these podcasts week after week. And once you get good at that, then you'll have a whole new lifestyle. Once you start learning how to get $300, $400 a month positive cash flow, $500, I got houses $1,000, $1,200 a month positive cash flow. Right?
Yeah, single family. I know that one. That was an awesome deal.
And they gave me $12,000 down and they got $95,000 in the back end. Because I do what I'm telling you to do right here. And I'm not going to talk about this now, but I have figured out a way to crank it up. I have actually figured it out. I've been working on it, which is part of the reason why I'm so busy, is because I've been working on this parallel system where I'm actually going to start taking students around the country to be my partners. And I got to figure it out. So this little system will break you of a drought of income for real estate. So stop bitching about not doing a deal and spending money on education. Just listen to this podcast 3, 4, 5, 10 times. And I'll even make you a deal. I'll make anybody a deal on this podcast right now. I just thought of this. If you email me or send me a support ticket, I will for free send you the transcript. Okay? Don't do it today because I need a week to do the transcript. But if you send me a support ticket and you're a reader like I am, I will email you a PDF document of this transcript so you can take notes, go through it, whatever you want. I will do that for free because I'm that determined to help you. It cost me a lot of money to get these podcasts transcribed because they're 90 minutes long. That's a lot of money. Okay? I will send it to you for free. If you're that serious and you want help, I'll send it to you for free. Just so you go through this and crack the ice and start making deals. And start talking to motivated sellers. Know the difference. Get the experience yourself. Hands-on. Okay? Be the mother that lets the 2-year-old kid touch the stove and burn himself.
Ooh.
Be that person. Because that's what I'm being right now. I'm telling you, go out there and screw it up. Because there's no ramification. There's nothing that anybody could do to you other than throw you out of their house.
Hey, make believe you're going to an open house. Who hasn't done that? I've seen open houses.
Right.
I went up the street. There's a house 3 houses up. I went in a few years ago. I just want to see the damn thing, and I left. The neighbor moved in. I met him. He's a friend now. So what's wrong? It's like an open house. Just go in, talk a little bit, and leave.
You know what my friend tells me?
What?
What are they going to do with me? Take away my birthday?
Take away my birthday.
It's like, what can you lose? There's nothing you can lose. Your birthday?
As long as they don't take away my ham so I can bake it on Sunday.
350 degrees.
I'll keep that in mind.
That's your credit score. That's your credit score. All right, good. So please subscribe to our channel. Whatever podcast platform you're listening to, please subscribe. Give us a review. If you go to flippinghousesforrookies.com, top right-hand side, it says proof it works. I actually have software where you could just click a button and make a video of yourself. Like I just listened to this podcast. Oh my God. You could type it. You could record it without your face being on there. The software is amazing. It's really cool to use. It literally takes a couple minutes and it processes it. And then I go check it out and then we approve it and it goes on the website. So if you want to say shitty things about me, that's not the place to do it because I'm going to see it before we post it. Go to flippinghousesforrookies.com. If you scroll down, the podcast is there right on that page. If you click underneath the link, it says give reviews. Go to iTunes, go to Stitchers, go to Google Play, wherever you listen to us, and please give us a review. I have to tell you that I wasn't sure that guys were doing this, but last week I posted up, I said on the podcast on episode 205, if you don't give me reviews, I won't do the second podcast. Well, we did the second podcast because we got a lot of reviews. So that's like my report card. I want to know how I'm doing. I'm spending my money to help you get educated. I at least want some feedback. So I'm asking for you to put some exchange in by at least giving us some feedback. So please go do that. And if you've been telling yourself, you've been listening to podcasts and it's like, I got to do that. Well, please do it. Stop telling yourself that. Please do it. Okay. And don't forget, you can get all my documents for $37, plus a 42-minute video on how to do virtual deals so you don't have to do them in your backyard. You can do them across the country. That's at flippinghousesforrookies.com/virtual. flippinghousesforrookies.com/virtual. So hopefully you got a lot out of this. My intention was, add the title, do not listen to this podcast unless you are frustrated as hell with not doing a real estate deal. And I think we've covered that. And I think we can actually crack you, you thick-headed son of a bitch, and get out there and do deals. All right? Thanks for listening. We're over and out. Thanks, Peter.
Thanks, Bill. So long, folks.
Thanks for tuning in to the hottest real estate topics on the planet with Bill and Pete. If you want to continue learning how to buy and sell real estate without money or credit, head over to flippinghouses.club for some cutting-edge real estate wealth tools. Or contact us at info@flippinghouses.club.